Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests. I would like to give you a short introduction of our presenter, Davender Gupta, of distinguished Toastmasters for people who do not know him yet. I think many of us know him quite well. So Davender is a member of 3 Toastmasters clubs. Since he embarked his Toastmaster journey in 2005, he has held several Toastmasters leadership roles: VP Education, Club President, Area Director, and twice as Division Directors. Davender has been coaching in his professional life the high-performance startups across Canada for over 20 years. So now please join me to welcome Davender to take the virtual stage to start the workshop, Plan and Execute for Success with the OKR method. Davender, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for that great introduction. And thank you for all of you who are here today to explore how to plan and execute for success with the OKR method, objectives and key results. Before we get going, just so that you know, at the bottom right of your screen, you will see there is a link to where you can download this presentation, which is slideshare.net/coachdavender. Also, I hope you have nearby a pen and a piece of paper. Yes, remember these? Because you'll probably want to do some of the exercises with pen and paper too, as we move forward with this. So great. Welcome here. I'm sort of curious. What were your New Year's resolutions? So if you go way back in time to December 31st, 2020, what did you want to create as a result? Whoops. Okay, you should be able to do that here. So I'm going to see here, exercise more, lose at least 10 pounds, to not make New Year's resolutions. Okay, yeah, well, we want to make some changes. Stay sane and keep up with the distancing rooms. Get my 3rd DTM. Survive 2021. Get my blood pressure down and keep it down. Do more exercises. Get married, COVID or not. Wow. Improve my sleep and improve flexibility. So here, you have some great resolutions. Now, my next question to you is, so how'd that turn out? How did that turn out? Are you making changes? Are those New Year's resolutions that you set about 4 months ago, are they still valid? What do they mean to you? Whether you're still on track or not.
I can chime in. So I've exceeded my goal. I'm at 20 pounds.
Excellent. Excellent.
And it was perseverance, because I knew there were going to be slip-ups and I anticipated them, and then I just kept going.
So I'm curious, Francois, so how did you keep yourself motivated?
So I kept the end goal in sight, and I knew that I had to keep myself accountable to myself and to others. And it was that support network that made sure that every day I would weigh myself and I wouldn't get caught up on the numbers. I was looking at the trend. Some days were good and some days were less good.
I like what you're saying. You were monitoring the trends. You had accountability. You had a very specific goal in mind. And so those are really important elements. Now, no matter what goal system that you're using, those are critical elements for success. Thank you very much, Francois. Somebody who didn't see a change, or who sort of abandoned the New Year's resolution, I'd love to hear from you. Somebody where it didn't quite work out. Who's strong enough to do that?
Well, I'm not married yet.
I love that, Kathy. I love that. Thank you. Well, we're going to leave it at that. And so maybe OKR could work, or maybe it's about finding an objective that's even deeper than the result. And so what is all of this about? Why do we set goals? Well, of course, we want to make a change. So goals help us direct our focus, help us measure progress, help us manage our resources and our actions and create that accountability and all of those other elements. So setting goals is important. It's not like I've seen in some of the resolutions here, not to make any more resolutions. Well, I encourage you that there's a desire for change. And so how can we make that change? Many of you have probably seen the SMART goals, and it's useful. It has its effectiveness: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, timelined. So SMART goals are a good way to start. And in many cases, people set their New Year's resolutions as SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timelined. How many of you have not heard of SMART goals before? If you can just speak up. I believe most people, at least in Toastmasters, have heard of SMART. So SMART has its role, and it can work, but I think there's something beyond SMART that we can look at. Of course, it helps us to keep clear, focused. It gives us structure, as Francois said earlier in what he shared. It gave him accountability, and he was able to measure trends to see if he was still on track towards a SMART goal. So SMART goals can work. But I put forward this question: can SMART goals survive in a hostile and unpredictable environment? And if you think back to 2020, January 2020, or December 31st, 2019, of course, we made all kinds of goals. And what happened? Well, in March, our lives turned upside down. Unpredictable. Nobody would have predicted how things happen. And I had goals. Of course, I had goals, and I wanted to grow my business, and I wanted to launch a new program in my business. And little did I know, at the end of the year, I would be an employee of the federal government. That was never in my plans back on the 31st of December of 2019. So SMART goals can work, but I believe SMART goals, the weak spot, the downside, is it assumes that our environment is not going to change. And the reality is that things are changing at a crazy rate. Those of you in Ontario just experienced it this week. Those of us in Quebec have been also dealing with major changes in our environment, in our freedom to move about, and the things that we can do and that we cannot do. And end of the pandemic or not, the future is going to be highly volatile. So I'm moving forward in life with that mindset, is that if there's one thing you can count on, is that things will change. So what if you cannot predict the future? When everything is unpredictable, do SMART goals really make sense? And this is at every level. With a lot of the entrepreneurs that I work with, they assume that they can control their environment. They assume that the way things will be in a year from now are the way things are now. And time again, that assumption trips them up. You cannot predict the future. So my suggestion is, instead of goals, instead of thinking of resolutions and goals and SMART, SMART, consider defining objectives. Because our motivation to change our lives is not because we want to achieve something. That achievement we want to create is the mechanism to make a change in our life. What is a significant change you want to create, whether in your business, whether in your job or career, your profession, or on a personal basis? What is a significant change you want to create? And how will you know you have arrived? So I invite you to think in terms of objectives. What is the change I want to create? Why is this change important? Why me? Why now? And I think that's an important element, a distinction between SMART goals and objectives. SMART goals, what's often missing is the why, that significance, that emotional element. And often that's why, as soon as the going gets a bit tough, either because we have set goals that are beyond our comfort zone or our abilities, or more likely the environment has changed around us, because we're not clear on the why we want to create the change, that's where resolutions and SMART goals tend to let us down. And so how do you feel about this? You can write down in the Q&A, just simply give me some feedback on how do you feel about this idea. Instead of goals, consider objectives. And a comment here, yeah, they feel too definitive and inflexible when you think about resolutions. They are too inflexible. And that's the idea here. Objectives are anchored into the why, anchored into your motivation. An important mindset. And if you work with me as an entrepreneur, I'll talk a lot about effectuation versus causality. Instead of controlling the future, choose it. The danger in focus and being goal-driven is that you're trying to create a specific outcome in the future. And so that assumes that the future is knowable and known. And as any entrepreneur, as basically any person has experienced over the past year, the future is unknown. How many times have we hoped that we can get back to, quote, normal by April? Oh no, it'll be by the summer. Oh no, it'll be by Thanksgiving. Oh, by December, so that in 2021, oh yeah, things will be back to normal. Now we're back, we're here 4 months into 2021, and the future is up for grabs. Who knows what's going to happen next week? So that's why goals don't work, because you're trying to cause a specific outcome. Effectuation is the opposite. With effectuation, I look at the means that I have in my hands right now, and I look at opening up possibilities. And then I can choose what's the next possibility that I'm going to focus on. And I go step by step, and I'm able to adapt to a changing future. I start with the means at hand, and I want to design an outcome instead of trying to force a stated goal. Effectuation. And effectuation is at the basis of a lot of the in entrepreneurship, we talk about agility, and we talk about lean, the concept of lean startup, which is basically do things that do not cost waste. So if I'm taking actions and they're not working, that's waste. If I'm taking actions and they are working, well, I'm adding value. So I have to be able to adapt how I take action, to adapt to my environment, but I keep focused on the change I want to create, on my objective, my why. So think effectuation. Once I realized this difference in my personal life, it made a huge change. That instead of trying to hit goals, I looked more at how can I open possibilities today. It completely changed my mindset. And last year, it saved my sanity, because it allowed me to recognize opportunities that normally I would have ignored. So I was so focused on trying to save my business And that wasn't working because at the beginning of, by the beginning of April, I had lost all my clients last year in my business. However, I was able to recognize some opportunities, and one opportunity led to another opportunity, which led to a friend calling me up that with whom I hadn't spoken to for 30 years. And she said, Davender, you should apply to this job. It would be perfect for you. And I had no idea that I wanted to apply for a job. But I said, okay, I'm going to put my application in and let's see what happens. And finally, I got the job, and I realized that this opportunity, this job that was offered to me, is precisely in alignment with the intention I wanted to create, the objective I wanted to create back in January of 2020. So the means appeared because I was aware of it. If I had been so focused on trying to get my business going again, I would have missed the opportunity, and I probably would not have moved forward as much as I have in the last few months. So effectuation, design the outcome, assume the future is unknowable, and create possibilities. So in defining your objective, you want to see how I want to define an objective that continues to be relevant to me. Is this objective still relevant when I reach the end date? And too often, the goal that I define on January 1st loses its relevance as time moves on. And that's why most people abandon in the first week their resolution, because they realize they go back to work, oh, my environment has changed and it doesn't make sense. So you want to define your objective so that it remains relevant. I love this. How many of you have read this or heard of this book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? I highly recommend it. It's a timeless classic. And the best thing I love about his book, Stephen Covey, is the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And that's what we forget too often. We get distracted. We get into survival mode. No, you want to make a change in your life. As humans, we want to evolve. We want to move forward. If I'm doing the same thing today as I did yesterday, then I'm not doing it right. I want to evolve. So the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And what is that main thing? It is, what is the change I want to create in myself? What is the change I want to create in my work, with my team, with my club? And why is this important? Why me? Why now? So OKRs, actually, OKRs come from a not so brilliant background. Those of you who are of my vintage probably remember management by objectives. Did they work in the 80s, in the 90s? Not really. The problem is management by objectives, it was top down. And so John Doerr and Andy Grove. So John Doerr was, Andy Grove is one of the founders of Intel. John Doerr, I just drew a blank of which company, Silicon Valley company he started. But they are two people. They are two people who are basically the mentors of many of the tech giants today, the mentors of Mark Zuckerberg, the mentors of Google, the founders of Google. And again, I'm drawing a blank, but Facebook, Google, name the major Silicon Valley company, and John Doerr and Andy Grove mentored them. And John Doerr, what he realized is management by objectives is just the start. And the problem with the old way that we did management by objectives in the 80s and 90s is it was not connected with the why. And for those of you who are on the District 61 page on Facebook, I shared a couple of days ago a TED Talk by John Doerr on OKRs, and you can search it on Google if you want. And that's what he says is, most goals, most changes we want to create are not bold enough. And so there's not enough, there's no passion, there's no energy behind it. And that's why often they're abandoned. So he redefined management by objectives, which is now OKR, objectives and key results, in such a way that you stay connected to your why, to your passion, and you measure what matters. And so this is what I work with the entrepreneurs, the startup entrepreneurs that I coach. We set OKRs. We set OKRs, and then we measure what matters. And so there's a question here. How do you define an objective that can be flexible? Well, we're going to go through the process right now. And I hope you'll be able to see how an OKR is more adaptable. So objectives and key results. What does this mean? So objective is, where do we want to go and why is this important? Always getting back to the why. You know, the good old Simon Sinek, start with why. And if those of you don't know who that is, ask a colleague, ask a friend, and they'll know. Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K. Look at that, at his presentation, at his TED Talk, and go to a site, start with why. So you have to know what's important to you to be able to set good objectives. And then key results, the KR of the OKR. How will we know we have arrived? And then from there, you can determine your actions. What actions do we need to take to get there? So OKRs, then the actions. And too often, we define the goals as actions up front. Okay, I'm going to work out every day. Well, they're actions. And if I miss a day, then of course I'm not going to hit my goal. Then I skip a day and it ends up I skip 2 days. I ended up skipping 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and the goal just disappears. The resolution just disappears. So instead of focusing on the actions, let's focus on the objective. Where do we want to go and why? How do you feel about that? So the advantages of thinking this way in terms of OKR, first it's engagement because it's connected to your why. It helps you focus better, and it's agile because the objective, you keep the objectives in mind, keep the main thing, but you can adapt your actions depending on how you are tracking your results. You can adapt your actions based on the change in your environment. And finally, it's transparent. It's a great way of getting accountability. Back to what Francois said at the beginning, finding that accountability. So that kept him on track in his actions. So it's a great way for coaching. And that's why I like using OKRs with the people I work with. And I use it in my own life too. So objectives and key results. So take your piece of paper, take your pen, or just think about this for a moment. We're going to build an OKR here in the next 20 minutes. So choose an area of focus, an area of focus in your life. It could be your personal life. It could be your fitness. It could be your revenues. It could be your environment at work. So, and choose a target date. Choose a target date. What I say is choose a target date 6 to 9 months from now. So actually now is a great time to look at objectives and key results you want to create by the 31st of December, 2021. It's just the right distance away. It's not too close so that you won't see results. And it's not too far away, so it's way out there. It's just the right. So I would suggest your target date of 31st December, 2021. Choose an area of focus. So give me some area of focuses that you're looking for to make a change. You can say it out loud or put it in the Q&R. on Slido, Q&A on Slido.
I'm writing a small book called Grandma's Musings, and I'd love to get it out by the end of the year.
Okay, so the area of focus, and this is Sharon, right?
Right.
So Sharon, so the area of focus, so if you want to put it in a bucket, like you have several buckets in life. So what bucket would this be? And would this be in creativity?
Yeah, creativity.
Perfect.
I'm halfway there.
Yeah. So so your area of focus is creativity, and your target date is the 31st of December. Excellent. Now, so everybody has an area of focus? Great. Next question. What is the significant and inspiring change that you want to see in your area of focus between now and the target date? Now, it's really important. Describe this change in a qualitative way. So this should be, it's almost like projecting yourself onto the 31st of December. So if we go to Sharon's example with the book, and I have a similar goal myself. So in my bucket, creativity, what is the significant and inspiring change I want to see between now and the 31st of December? I want a sense of accomplishment. That's qualitative. That is not something I can put a number on. So I want it to be qualitative. I want a sense of accomplishment. I want to get this big rock accomplished in my life. What could be another significant and inspiring change? Well, I want to be known as the startup guru, because my book is going to be, we are all startups now. So I want to be known as the startup guru because I have this book. So significant, inspiring change that you want to see between now and the target date. Describe it qualitatively. I see a first example here. Okay, the change you want to create. So the Pembroke Area Club, increase membership from 11 to 20 members by 2021, December 31. What I would challenge you is, why is this important? So who put the suggestion for the Pembroke Club? If you want to share, let's do a little coaching around this.
I was Ed Nicholson.
Hi, Ed. That's a good start. So I'd like to ask you, this change that you want to create, this 11 to 20 members, why is this important to you and to your club?
Our club has been struggling for many years with very low membership. In fact, just a couple of years ago, we almost closed the club because we were already in, what do you call that, probation? Okay.
Yeah.
We needed to increase our membership, even just to keep the club viable. Now we've got 11 members, but we're still challenged with holding meetings because many members are doing multiple roles at each club meeting. So we're wearing out members and we're not getting new members to replace them.
Okay. So Ed, what I'm hearing is, I'm hearing some results that you want to see. So why is this result important? What I hear from what you just mentioned is, you want the club to no longer struggle. Is
Yes,
that right?
that's true, yeah.
Okay. So I would suggest that you put that as the objective. Get out of struggle. Now, what could be a positive way of saying get out of struggle? And so instead of out of something negative and towards something positive.
Achieve a strong, vibrant club.
Perfect. I love that. That's a beautiful objective. That we want this to be a strong, vibrant club. So when you say that, how do you feel, Ed?
Powerful.
Yes. Yes. And think back into a moment ago when you said to go from 11 to 20 members. How did you feel when you were saying that?
Not very powerful.
It felt like a burden, right?
Yes.
Yes. And so your objective should be significant and inspiring. So we want to create a strong, vibrant club. Thank you very much, Ed, for sharing.
Okay.
So that's it. That's a wonderful example of an objective. And I see some other ones here. Inspire club members to take control of their club. Yes. Same thing for publish my book of poetry. I would recommend that you go one step deeper. What does publishing your book of poetry mean to you? Who would like yeah, publish my book of poetry.
Me,
Yes.
Davender. I have been going to do it for a long time, and it hasn't happened yet. So it definitely would be a feeling of accomplishment, completion, fulfillment of something I've been wanting to do for a long time.
So your book is published. How do you identify yourself now, Fran? I am
Someone
say again.
completed something.
Yeah.
An author. I'm an published author.
I am an author. Awesome. That is the objective. I am an author. I would suggest that you put it that way. I am an author. That's an objective. So, so do you see how we can turn a goal, a SMART goal, into an objective, become something that inspires you, that adds value, that connects you to your why? And that's what I want to challenge you is define your objective in this way. Okay. So now we're going to move to, so write it. So again, write it in Slido or say it out loud. We have time's going fast, but we do have time. So I'd like to hear a couple of more objectives or see a couple more on Slido. Who wants to speak up?
I will, Davender.
Yes, Randy?
I'd like to lose 40 pounds. I want to lose 40 pounds.
Okay, you want to lose 40 pounds. So you project yourself to the 31st of December 2021. How does that make you feel?
Terrific, because I wanted to lose weight for a long time and I just haven't, I've never really put my mind to it.
So you feel terrific. You feel
energized.
You feel
successful.
Yes. So I would suggest, let's focus your objective on, I want to feel more energy. And I have a similar objective. And at first I defined it as, I need to lose 40 pounds. But now I'm realizing, no, I want to feel more energetic. I want to have more stamina. Because for me, my problem is I'm really worried that when we go back to being in person and teaching in person, that I will not be able to stand up for 3 hours in front of the class, literally, because I'm that much out of shape right now. So I want to get my energy back. That's my objective in the area of fitness. Thank you very much, Randy.
You're welcome.
So now question 2. So we've talked about the objectives. So now you take your objective, the change you want to create. How can you measure that you've succeeded in making that change? So list 3 to 5 quantitative metrics. So the book is published. I've lost 40 pounds. Like for me, one of the metrics is I want to be able to walk the 10K, the Montreal Marathon 10K in September. That's what I've said as one of my metrics. If I have the energy to do that, I know I have the energy to be able to stand in front of a class for 3 hours and teach. So what are some of the metrics? You can please share, just call out your metrics. This should be straightforward. Just, this is what we do naturally. So what are some metrics that you're writing down? Just call them out.
Walk into a room, find everything all set up, lots of people milling around, having a great time and preparing for it. It's going to be a fantastic meeting.
That'd be great. So that a quantitative metric is that two people take charge of setting up the environment at each meeting on their own. Mm-hmm. So that could be a metric. So two people take the initiative to set up the room every meeting. Thank you very much, Ed. What would be another metric?
Just to go along that line, there would be no individual doing double roles.
No, that's a perfect metric. So let's list 3 to 5 of those metrics. Okay, or at least 2 or 3. Everybody should have at least 2 or 3 metrics related to their objective by now. Okay, because that part is relatively easy. I know how many pounds I need to lose. I know what I want to be able to accomplish. Now make sure that they are not actions. So for example, in my book, in my creativity, in my book, it's that my book is published by the 31st of December. But it's not a metric that are the results. It's not, I'm going to write 3 pages a day. That is an action, not a result. Or I'm going to lose 1 pound a day. That's not a result. That's too close. That's too, there's no control over that. But over the next period of time, like between now and December, I should be able to walk the 10K race at the Montreal Marathon. Okay, so you should have 3 to 5 metrics. So now look at each of those metrics that you've done and classify them. Are they green, yellow, or red? Green means, yeah, I can do it. It's within my zone of ability. Without too much effort, I can do that. So for me, in terms of the metric of completing the 10K walk, yeah, it will actually be yellow. I have to train. I have to take actions to be in shape to be able to do that distance. But it's achievable with a focused effort. The half marathon is red. It's too ambitious. It's a moonshot. However, next year, 2022, I'd love to be able to walk the 21K. But this year it's the 10K. And it's a stretch. Right now I have trouble walking 2Ks. So I need to have a plan to be able to do that. But it's achievable with a focused effort. So green, yellow, or red, you should be able to classify each of these results. Does it make sense? Are you okay?
Davender,
right.
can I ask a question about the actions?
Yes.
From what I was understanding then of what you were saying is an action would be almost too micro, right? So we're talking about something that's a bigger, that you would almost break down into how am I going to do that on a micro level, but you don't want that to be your action for the year.
That's precisely it, Kathy, because what you're going to see in a moment is that once we've defined our objectives and the results, which measure that, yes, we are on track to reach our objectives, then we can look at the actions.
Thank you.
Yes. So make sure your metrics are yellow. There's stretch. You know, it's completing the book is a stretch goal for me, but it's doable with focused effort. Go back here. So make sure that, and I use this very often, this green, yellow, red. I use this way of talking a lot. Am I yellow? Am I green? Am I red? Green means, yeah, what I have in front of me, the results I want to create, I can do it. Yellow means I need some help. I need a coach. I need some accountability, and I can do it. Red means I need to achieve this result, I need to learn new things. I need to stretch myself, but it's something I still want. That's okay. So make sure they're at least in the yellow. Don't have too many reds. You want to have no more than one green or red. So from your list of metrics, choose 3 key results. So it should be your OKR. For target date, I will. Objective, the change I want to create as measured by list of key results. Share your complete OKR. Type it out. So for a target date, who wants to say their OKR out loud? Share your complete OKR. So for example, in my case, in the area of fitness, for the 31st of December, 2021, I will get more energy. I will be more energetic as measured by 1, my ability to complete the 10K event, 10-kilometer walk event at the Montreal Marathon. 2, to be able to stand in front of my class for 3 hours and teach and have the energy to do that. So I have at least 2 key results there. Then the actions come, as Kathy said before. Okay, to move my needle, what is the action I want to create? So right now, what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I complete the rings. I complete the rings on my Apple Watch. So as you see, I'm actually doing pretty good today. I have a good start. So I want to make sure that I complete these rings. That's my action. And so the action to do that, well, I need to make sure that in the morning when I wake up, I do a 30 minutes on the bike, a Peloton ride, and midday, I need to go for a walk outside. And at the end of the day, I do a weight session. So I have my actions now. And am I moving the needle? Well, my watch will tell me. Are my circles, am I completing my circles? And if it's not happening, then I have to switch things around. I'm finding that it's really hard for me to have the time to do a walk at noon. So I'm going to have to switch now, and I'm going to probably do my walk in the evening before curfew, of course. And then at lunchtime, it may be more than, I might just do more of a stretch yoga, standing yoga, or chair yoga kind of thing to at least have some movement. But to get out, I don't quite have enough time at noon. So I can switch my actions as I move forward. Okay. Let's do a little sanity check on your OKRs. You know an OKR is correct when it triggers your objective, inspires you to change. It should change the game. It should add value to you and your team. Your team, if for example, I see a couple of objectives here, that it should be something that people are saying, yeah, this is important. They find the emotional connection to the objective. And that's what you keep going all the time. If we go back to Ed's example of the club, so that the club is now a welcoming place. It's no longer a struggling place. It could mean that you don't have 20 members yet, and that's fine. You can have a club that's vibrant, that everybody's participating, and you have 12 to 15 members. That's fine. And what would be more important? Is the number of members or the experience of being in the club? I would say it's the experience of being in the club. So that the objective should energize everybody around you, especially if you're trying to inspire a team to make a change. Your key results are measurable and describe a change, but they do not describe the actions. My book is published is a great key result, not your actions. Writing 3 pages a day. No, my actions are separate, and they help me keep on track towards my key result. And the good thing here is the key result should be measured by an outside observer that I can show you on the 31st of December, 2021, my book, Gulp. As I say it, I have a little bit of a jolt. Okay, I have to get into action here. And that's the sanity check of a good key result. And Yes, with focused, continuous effort. So this goes back to what Francois shared at the beginning. He measured his result. He focused on the trends, not the specific numbers. He focused on the trends, and he's able to adapt as he went forth. So that's the difference between OKR and SMART. OKR has several levels. I can look at different buckets. It has several levels of commitment, but it connects to a passion. It's agile. It allows me to adapt. If things are not working, like in the winter, yeah, my actions, I'm not going to go out every day because I hate it when it's cold and it's rainy and it's wet and it's slippery. So I'll do more indoor activity for my fitness. And in the summer, I'll be out more outside. So you want to choose your future. And that's the bottom line here, is I invite you to choose your future instead of trying to control it. Go beyond being resilient, this concept of anti-fragility. And so there are people who have thrived on the uncertainty we've been experiencing for the last 16 months. They've been able to adapt and build because it has opened more possibilities. Instead of focusing on what I cannot do, I've been focusing on what I can do. And as we move forward, pandemic or not, this is what I invite you to think in this mindset, an effectual mindset, an anti-fragile mindset, so that you stay focused on the change you want to create and why that change is important. And then you adapt your actions to your circumstances. That's how you can choose your future. Two wonderful books. Of course, John Doerr's book, whatmatters.com, Measure What Matters. I highly recommend it. And Felipe Castro is an amazing OKR coach. If you go to his site, he has a ton of resources, and he has a really good free book that you can download called The Beginner's Guide to OKR. Of course, you can download this presentation at slidecheer.net/Coach Davender, and I encourage you to do that. And this is me. You can reach me anytime. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. On most socials, I'm at Coach Davender, Facebook, Twitter, all of that, LinkedIn. So please connect with me. If you want feedback, if you have questions, feel free to do so. What questions, comments do you have?
Davender, Roberto here.
Yes.
I find that when we have like a goal, like a strict goal, and we so-called fail, we consider ourselves a failure. And I find that sometimes when you find a different path and you end up being successful, and you're saying, hold on a second, I was never a failure. I just didn't find the right path.
That's it. And that's precisely the reason why I love OKRs, because I don't have to be judgmental about my actions. If my actions are not moving me forward, that's okay. I can change my actions. And if I'm not seeing the needle moving, I can go back in this OKR and ask myself, is that change I wanted to create, is that objective still relevant? And it could be sometimes my objective is no longer relevant. And I give my permission to change my objective. But it should always, this change I want to create should always be anchored in my why. Why is this important to me? And my why, the tool that I use to go back to my why is my personal mission statement. I've created a personal mission statement. This was over 30 years ago. And that's what permits me to stay on track. My mission statement has not changed, even though it's been shaken. It has not changed. But the actions I'm doing on a daily basis, some work, some don't. Yeah, I've gained weight, quite a bit of weight over the last 6 to 8 months. But I don't beat myself over it. I tell myself, okay, my motivation now is that I want to get the energy in my life back. So I will become more energetic. I will find my energy as measured by my ability to stand in front of a group and teach and to speak, my ability to complete the 10K. Now, will it be the 10K event? Maybe by the time November comes or September comes, I will feel like I can do more or less, but I will be in the Montreal Marathon. You can count on that.